Right, so now we're going to look at converting between the different units, and we're going to talk about a topic called dimensional analysis. And we're going to look at it in a real basic sense right now. However, in in more I don't know, complicated applications, you can actually do this multiple different steps. A lot of times, if we look at measuring things like speed or forces, or things where there's lots of units involved and lots of different measurements involved, we can actually take this dimensional analysis to a different level and just kind of work through multiple conversions between different units. Okay, right now we're just going to do a one-step conversions. So we're going to look at the English conversions first, and then we'll kind of go into the metric and then kind of going back and forth. So one thing that's really, really important when doing dimensional analysis is what we're going to call this. Dimensional analysis. Again, that sounds really complicated and confusing, but the concept is basically this. You get two units of measure that are exactly equal to each other. Then one thing we know in mathematics is that if you take a number and divide it by itself, you always get 1, right? So in mathematics, anything divided by itself is equal to 1. Well, if these two things are equal, then 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. So then 12 inches is 1 foot is 12 inches. They're interchangeable. And so if you were to divide one of them, 12 inches, by 1 foot, well, this is divided by itself, basically, right? They're equal to each other. So 12 inches divided by itself. It looks a little different, but it is itself. Well, that's got to be equal to 1 also, okay? And in addition to that, if you flip the fraction, 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So 1 foot divided by 12 inches is 1 also. Anything divided by itself is 1. And you can do this combination for every one of these conversions, right? So 3 feet divided by 1 yard is 1. And you can flip that fraction, 1 yard divided by 3 feet. You can go with the miles. You can go 5280 feet is equal to 1 mile. So if you divide them, the answer is 1, right? That's these different conversions. Of course, you could flip that one as well. So there's lots of combinations here, but all of these fractions are equal to 1. And what's nice about the number 1 is if you multiply something by the number 1, it doesn't change the value, right? So anytime any number multiplied by a 1 is equal to itself, right? Anything, I use a for anything, times 1 is equal to itself. Now that 1 could be one of these fractions, and that's what dimensional analysis is. It's using these fractions as the number 1 to multiply a measurement to get another measurement that's equal to itself, but maybe in a different unit. Okay, so let's say, for instance, I wanted to convert, let's say convert 8 feet to inches, okay? So the fraction we're going to use is going to be one of the feet-inch fractions. It's going to be one of these two. And we're going to multiply the 8 feet by one of these two fractions. The trick to picking the right one is that we think of this 8 feet as 8 over 1. It's a fraction, right? Any number is itself over 1. And then we multiply by whichever one of these is going to have the feet in the opposite position. Okay, think of it as canceling fractions, right? If you had 2/3 times 1/2, you cancel fractions as long as one's on top, one's on the bottom. Sort of the same thing with units. It's not exactly, but it works out that way. And so if you take 8 feet on top, the feet are on top, then you want to take the fraction here with the feet on the bottom. So I want 12 inches over 1 foot. Okay, and you kind of think of it this way, is that you're canceling the feet out because there's one on top, one on the bottom. They cancel. And what you'll be left with is 8 times 12 inches, right? And 8 times 12 is 96. And so we get a 96-inch distance. Okay, so if you took a 8-foot, 2x4, like a board, right, a construction board, and I'm actually, I don't know if maybe this is bad to move my camera here, but I'm actually finishing my basement. You can see I'm building some walls back, not this wall, this has already been there, but I'm building some walls back here and using 2x4s and a bunch of stuff. I'm filming these in my basement, and I'm using 2x4s that are either 10 foot long or 8 foot long, depending upon how tall I need. And so I bought a bunch of 8-foot 2x4s, and they measure 96 inches in length. So if I put the tape measure down, it'll be 8 foot and 96 coincide on the tape measure. And so that's how we convert these, is we want to make sure the feet cancel or the inches cancel, whatever the given unit is, has to be on the bottom of the fraction. All right, so, and we could do this, we can do this with any number of combinations. So if I wanted to convert, 15 feet to yards, then you take your 15 feet and put it over 1 and multiply that by your feet to yard conversion, again with the feet on the bottom, so it cancels out, or so they counter each other essentially. So feet in yards, you're going to have the 1 yard on top, the 3 feet on the bottom. Again, this fraction technically equals 1, so when you multiply, right, this is like the number 1. You can kind of see that block 1 there. I don't know how good that is, it's really wide. But anyway, multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value of the length. It doesn't change how long that actual distance is, but it does change what it looks like, changes the units. So we got 15 feet divided by 3 this time. So here we had 8 times 12 because the 12 was on top along with the 8. Here the 3 is on the bottom, so we're going to do the division, right? 15 times 1 divided by 3 is going to be 5. The feet cancel. We got 5 yards, okay? So 15 feet is equal to 5 yards. That gives you your conversion. And so that just helps us just to remember which to do, whether you multiply or divide. You take your conversion, stick it into fraction form, make sure that the corresponding unit is on the bottom to the one that's given, and then you make sure, then you just follow the operation. If they're both on top, multiply. If one's on top, one's on the bottom, you divide. Okay? Okay, so, and we can do all these conversions. We can even convert, if we wanted to, I don't know, maybe inches and miles or something. We could do some bigger conversions here. Let's say 3.62 miles to inches. Well, that's a lot of miles. Well, that's a lot of inches, I mean. Okay. But we could do this, right? But we're going to have to do this in stages. So we start with 3.62 miles over 1. That's our fraction, our starting fraction. Then I've got to convert, but I don't have a miles to inch direct conversion. So what I'm going to have to do is convert miles to feet and then feet to inches, if that makes sense. So I've got to do a double conversion here. So that's okay. I can do, so I want miles to feet. So we've got to have this sort of middleman here with the feet. So we're gonna, and we want the miles on the bottom. So we're gonna do the 5280 feet over 1 mile. And then we're gonna multiply by, and I want, so I've canceled out my miles. Now I gotta get rid of the feet. So the feet in inches, the feet goes on the bottom, the inches go on top. So it's 12 inches Oh, maybe I should write that horizontal. 12 inches to 1 foot. And again, the feet cancel. And to do this conversion, now I have to multiply, right? All the denominators are 1, so there's no division involved. I just have to go 3.62, and I'm going to go ahead and throw that one in the calculator. I'm not doing that one in my head. So 3.62 times 5280 times 12. And that is interestingly large number. It is 229,363.2 inches. All right, so it's actually a decimal. I figured that might come out even, but it didn't. Okay. So anyway, that gives us our number of inches. That's a lot. It's almost 230,000 inches. Okay, in 3.62 miles. So we can do these conversions in stages, right, or in multiple steps. Doesn't have to be just all at once if you can't really get there. Although most of the ones you're going to see are just a one-step conversion. You're multiplying by a fraction, either, where you end up having to multiply numbers on top or divide one on top, one on the bottom. Okay. Now, if I was converting like miles per hour to feet per second or something like that, different units of measurement all over the place, then you've got multiple conversions. You're looking at time conversions and length conversions. We're not going to see that stuff, at least not yet, not in this section with length, but I just want to prepare you that those kinds of things are also out there. You start studying physics or chemistry, you're going to be seeing lots of those different types of conversions all over the place. And also, like, if you're looking in the medical field, you've got your doses of medicines that convert back and forth too. So, your tablespoons and grams and milliliters and, all these different measurements that convert back and forth, volumes and weights. So, knowing the conversions and understanding how to do these, whether you multiply or divide, is an important skill to have. So definitely good to know. Yeah, and then we'll get into the metric system here in the next video.